Hey guys, welcome to the GTA 5 Online competitive racing footage. Got some contact racing for you today of one of the tracks that we're going to be doing from the 4v4 crew battle playlist of the 6 tracks. And this is one of the tracks their crew chose to do tonight. So definitely come check out the stream around 6 PM when the event starts. But I'm probably live streaming as we speak, sort of warming up and whatnot. So definitely come support there if you guys want. But of course, if you feel that I'm wasting your time, then feel free to not watching. As one of those things, your choice. And it's definitely going to be interesting tonight. It's going to be intense as fuck, man. I tell you that for a fact, because I've already raced with a few of their members, and it's been really, really close with these races with the warm-up sessions. But anyway, here's the thing, man. This particular track is called Apex Predator, and it consists of 6 laps. Yesterday's track you saw is the track that our crew chose on Rockford Hills. That consisted of 8 laps because that's slightly shorter than this track. As I said, the total miles per track needs to be 14 in total, so 14 miles in total. This track also is going to be a sports race as well, so it should be interesting to see what cars each person chooses. Obviously, I was reading the comments in the previous video, and a lot of people were asking why am I using the Felter, why not the Massacro or the Elegy. By the way, the Elegy has been banned for this particular 4v4 crew battle, solely because nothing will be interesting from that. Anyway, we wanted to use cars that would obviously require more concentration than any other car. So, anyway, we've got the Felter and the Massacro that we commonly use, I suppose. And, you know, a lot of people ask me, why am I not using the Massacro? The thing is, I personally don't like the driving style of the Massacro that you need to have in order to execute properly with that. And obviously, that car tends to understeer more than oversteer. And as I said, I prefer cars that oversteer. And like, if you're used to the car and you know how everything works, and if you know how to control it, and obviously know your braking points for every corner, then you should be comfortable with the car that you have. So obviously if you're comfortable and you know the braking points of the Massacro, then by all means use that. But I feel that there is more concentration that is required with the Massacro than the Felter. I'm not sure, obviously it's preference, but you could say the other way around. You may not even like a car that oversteers like the Felter, but if you can control it, then go for it. I mean, both can get quite tense, you know what I'm saying, because the Massacro is quite poor around corners, and that's when the Felter will catch up. As you can see here, perfect example. So anyway, contact racing is something that I also enjoy, but not as much as non-contact, of course. It's mainly due to the lag that is involved within contact racing. A lot of the times, quite often what happens is, you know, when someone gets a lag spike, their car literally teleports all over the screen, so they might even take out multiple cars in one turn, which usually happens quite commonly in the first corner of a contact race. And that is a perfect example which happened in the live stream yesterday. I sort of showed frame by frame on my editing software of exactly sort of how the collision occurred, because we were so baffled, because one of the dudes actually, you know, that was racing, all the people in that particular lobby were all sweaters. We literally know how to race. Obviously, we know how to take these corners in contact environments. But the problem is, no matter how good the racer is, if you get connection and lag spikes, someone is bound to get taken out. That is a fact, and you can't do anything about that. You just got to deal with the situation and move on, right? A lot of the times, a lot of people do have the attitude of giving up or just this and that is frustrating, of course. And I personally sometimes get to the point of doing that whenever I'm on a hot lap. But when I'm in a racing environment, you got to pick yourself up and, of course, push yourself again, and you got to really sort of deal with the situation and adapt to it as well. But a lot of the times when there's a collision at the front, of course, there's bound to be chain reactions depending on how quick the person reacts behind. And you saw at the start of this video, there was a huge chain reaction of a collision which occurred in that sort of corner. We had to cut right, and the Massacro sort of flipped, and the Felter collided, and I sort of collided into another Felter. And I felt like that was my fault for taking out one of the dudes who went to the left. But it's really a judgment call, because if it was a chain reaction caused by another person, then it was my fault for reacting. I don't know, I perhaps should have waited, but then again, it's one of those things. It's really, really difficult to tell, and it's sort of a judgment call I had to make. There was another incident which also occurred in one of the corners where I believe the Massacro, I think it's already gone, man. Shit, already 4 minutes into this video. There was a corner, it was turning right, but I didn't pay attention to the braking point of the Massacro, because obviously every car's got different braking points around every corner. Right, you know, Massacro, you got to sort of brake earlier than the Felter around every corner. And wow, that's a horrible mistake there. And it definitely nearly caused a massive collision. I did sort of slow Rohan there, and that was my fault. I did apologize, and you got to apologize in these situations, man. But yeah, in that corner, I didn't anticipate that braking point, and obviously I collided into the back of the black Massacro, and that guy literally went flying to the left and went over the cliff. Yes, I probably should have stopped there, but I did apologize. But apparently, when he actually messaged me back, he said I didn't touch him on the screen. So it's one of those things, man. You get different perspectives from different situations. So I don't know, man. But anyway, I must admit, man, I was pretty damn aggressive in this race. I sort of should have respected the drivers a little bit more than usual. I mean, I must admit, I haven't done contact racing in a while, so I'm still sort of getting used to that feel again. And it's one of those things after doing a lot of non-contact racing, just mainly to do with attacking rather than defending. I need to get used to that as well, because I show a lot of aggression, and applying pressure is something that I'm used to rather than defending. Now, the reason why I'm showing you this footage here is because this race did go down to the wire, to the final lap, and I had to make a ballsy move in order to overtake, which I thought was pretty cool. And especially having to keep up with the Massacro is another task in itself, which required a lot of concentration, especially when you think about it. The more laps you do, the concentration level technically does decrease, so you are required to do more than usual. It does get tense. You have to apply pressure. You know, you can't take it calm like the first few laps. You gotta go for it. So thinking about that and thinking about the car itself, you know, I'm using a Felter, so it does tend to oversteer it quite a bit. So I needed to get my braking points spot on with every single corner. For their example, I completely failed. I did oversteer, and I sort of increased the gap in itself, but I do have 2 more laps, you know, so that's something that I had to take into consideration. So I did still have time to come back into the race, and with this incident here, it made it easier for me. So that's one person out of there with that sort of choke, I suppose. Now it's just me against the Massacro. Thinking about the Massacro, oh my god, this car was dominating, so the gap was increasing even further because of this curvy straight. So, you know, the car has more torque, better acceleration and top speed. As I said, downside is just that the car definitely understeers a lot, so the braking point is going to be different. It's going to be earlier as well. So taking all this information aboard, technically speaking, the Massacro should dominate because it's very, very predictable, I suppose. And you know exactly what point you got to push yourself if you get the braking points correct, because obviously traction is amazing. So we're now approaching the second to last lap, and you know the gap will sort of slowly decrease, and it was going to get even more tense. You know, I've got a lot of pressure on my hands at this point, and I need to really push myself every single one of these corners. Now, this is called unintentional hot lapping, alright? That's one of those things, I suppose you could say at this point, makes sense. And you don't know if you're going to get the fast lap or not. But I'm making a lot of mistakes anyway, and you never know, the person in front may be making a lot of mistakes as well, but it's very hard to tell. Now, before I move on any further to this particular footage, I wanted to give you guys a quick tip. If you're still part of this video and you haven't clicked away, to get efficient acceleration around every corner, prioritize any pavements that you see when you straighten up from an apex, because that pavement actually gives you a better rev, a transmission, gear change, or short gear ratio than taking a normal road itself. And this is so weird. I don't know why it works like that on GTA 5. I don't know if it's something to do with traction or whatever, but the cars that benefit the most obviously are the ones with high revs. So, you know, definitely you get these short gear ratios and a short time span is ridiculous. Sort of feels like the energy taking a corner on a normal road, but thinking about how an energy could do on a pavement is ridiculous. This only works for acceleration, so this only works if you straighten out from a corner out of an apex, straightening up and taking a pavement right next to the apex. So remember, take this tip on the board and it definitely works. This is not a placebo, it's 100% fact. And this one way you could possibly do to improve your hot laps for certain tracks that consist of pavements out of a corner, but this is very dependent on the track itself, obviously on the roads as well. So as I said, prioritize on the pavements, people. It is obviously it's a risky because you got to go in between lampposts and stuff, but you get an extra little help through the acceleration, and then obviously reaching your top speed is easier before you reach the consecutive corner. So definitely prioritize these pavements. I'm talking about these pavements here. You see these little white bits here, even the pavements in the middle of the road, you see these little white sections of flat out roads. Those actually help. You know, one of the roads, even like little slight little bumps that you get, just little air times once you land, for some reason the car just automatically switches to its top speed. It's so weird, but it's very difficult to explain the reason for that. So you can see the Massacro sort of slightly oversteers at this point. I saw the opportunity to take the inside line. I saw the gap, force him to go wide, and at this point I made it awkward for him because I got a better line going into the apex, going inside line. Yet again, he oversteers as he sort of braked too much and also tried to straighten up quickly as well. But then, yeah, sort of made the most out of that situation. I thought that was a perfect overtake with no sort of issues whatsoever. I anticipated the situation very well just by understanding what lines he took and how he was going to approach the consecutive corner. So I broke early on the consecutive corner because I knew that if I hit the apex, I can get an inside line of his car and overtake that way. So I thought it was pretty awesome. Obviously, this was a final lap as well, so it made it definitely interesting to see that out of 6 laps, you know, after that big choke that occurred beforehand where I completely sort of wiped my spoiler against a tree and my car flipped. But it's one of those things, you should never give up in races and just definitely go for it, because all it's going to do is apply more pressure to the person at the front and make things interesting. By the way, the best lap time on this with a sports car with no catch-up or slipstream is with the Feltzer, surprisingly 1 minute 43 seconds, 0.275. The car behind that was Massacre, 1 minute 43.289. So those lap times were pretty damn close, but I felt it actually dominates on this track just about, but it's very difficult to tell. Both cars are very balanced on this track, so it's definitely down to preference. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Definitely check out my Twitch throughout the day today. Appreciate your support, guys. Oh, by the way, if you guys want to check out the hot laps for every single track that we play and sweat, definitely check out the link in the description below for the Google spreadsheet. You can pretty much see every single track there, and you can pretty much click on the track name and it will take you straight to the initial track that you can play on the PlayStation 3. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys soon. Shaggy, sign out. Good night. Peace. Yeah. Hey guys, Shaggy here, aka G, and welcome to one of my sweatiest races on GTA 5. A lot of concentration was going into this, especially after the scenario